Good evening, everyone, or afternoon. The Clayton County Board of Commissioners work session is now called to order. The date is May 12th, 2026, and the time is 5:30 p.m. At this time, board members, are there any preliminary items for May 19, 2026 that you would like to discuss or that are going to be on our next board meeting? All right, anything to discuss? All right. All right, next we will move on to our agenda items. The first one is our behavioral health crisis facility update. And we have Mr. Chad Jones, who is here. And will you please come forward to the podium?
I will. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. It's good to see you all again. Good to see Dietrich coming in. I have some very exciting news. We have presented to you all before and showed plans that we were going to purchase 9 acres in Morrow at the corner of Mount Zion Boulevard and South Lake Parkway, right across from the Costco. We use the Costco as a landmark sometimes for people that don't know that area. So right across from there, 9 acres to build the Behavioral Health Crisis Center, the BHCC. I am very pleased to report they accepted our offer, and last Thursday we closed on that property. So we now officially own that property. We have also received funding in a contract from the Department of Behavioral Health to not only for the funding of that property, but also the operations. So in addition, I have some fantastic news that I wanted to share with you all. In putting out bids for the architect and the construction, we started looking at the land, we started talking to the Department of Behavioral Health, and we have a crisis stabilization unit for children that is off of Candler Road, off of I-20 Candler Road in DeKalb County. The issue is we only serve 14-year-olds to 17-year-olds at that facility. The Department of Behavioral Health would like us to move to 5-year-olds to 17, basically serve the entire childhood and youth years. We cannot fit that population in that current space. So I am very pleased to report and very excited to report that on the back side of that property, you're going to have the Behavioral Health Crisis Center, which is going to be 30 beds for adults. And then on the other side, we're going to have 16 beds for children and youth. So we're very, very excited about that. That will serve all ages 5 to 17. I've also reported out to you all before. Commissioner Davis, I think you asked a really good question last time I was here. How are we going to make sure that we handle transitions in and out and all that kind of stuff? And I answered that question. Then it came up about serving Clayton County residents. And we did pull some data from our other programs. We have a crisis center in Gwinnett County. 71% of that crisis center serves Gwinnetians. So I'm here to tell you that crisis center will have a walk-in component. Nobody from Clayton County will ever be turned away. They will receive those services. In addition, and Commissioner Davis, I hope this makes you happy, I went back and started doing a lot of work on, we've got the housing components, and we're doing a lot of stuff like that, but the transitional services out of a crisis center usually are intensive services. You don't leave a crisis center and just go right back to, what you were doing over here in the outpatient clinic. Sometimes you need intensive services. So I'm very pleased to report that we've also expanded our contract with the Department of Behavioral Health. We're going to be offering 2 very large and very robust community-based intensive programs. Those community-based intensive programs are Assertive Community Treatment, ACT, and Intensive Case Management. They're community-based, so they will actually take clients from the crisis center, get them acclimated back, and provide those ongoing services. So all this is, except for the crisis center, I did want to let y'all know we closed on the property, but outside that, everything I'm telling you is new, hot off the press, good news. And our request from Viewpoint Health and from the Department of Behavioral Health is, we know that you all have some SPLOST dollars set aside for those kind of things. Just to, if you would partner with us in terms of construction, this, that, and other, we're going to be able to serve the whole lifespan with those community-based services for folks being discharged. So just wanted to come tonight and give you that bit of good news that we're going to have the full service array there at that piece of property.
All right.
So.
Board members, are there any questions at this time?
Yes,
Yes,
just
I-
one
go ahead.
quick question.
Okay, so I'll start off here with Commissioner Allen.
So you said you have 30 beds for adults
And 16 for the kids.
and
Mhm.
16 for children. That's the whole facility?
That's the whole facility, correct. So on the 30-bed side, Commissioner Allen, there's going to be a triage walk-in component. So there's a walk-in center there, so everybody will get access to there. Then based on your triage, very much like if you go to emergency room, sometimes they triage you, sometimes they bring you back, sometimes they send you to other places. So there's going to be a triage, and then for those that need temporary assistance, there's a 23-hour, we call it temporary observation. Those are 10 beds for that. That's not part of the 30. That's 10 beds, but that's a temporary, that's usually for folks that might just need a medication change or some quick nursing assessment, so that's called temporary observation. And then, if they need more than the temporary observation, then you get admitted to the 30-bed facility. So that's the Behavioral Health Crisis Center. In addition to that, that same kind of component with the temporary observation, all those components are for the kids, and that'll be a 16-bed unit.
And then the dollar amount you are asking for the SPLOS,
All of it.
all of the SPLOS? Okay, thank you.
Everything you got.
All right, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah. You can put a dollar figure with that all.
Was it
Do
9
we
million?
know what it is?
7.
Was it 9 million? 7 million?
Seven.
7,
Yeah.
okay.
7 million.
Couple questions. You speak of the services. What are the services?
So at the actual crisis facility or the aftercare services?
At
Which
the
one?
actual crisis center
The
first.
crisis services. So in those crisis services are going to be psychiatric evaluations, nursing assessments, medication management services, case management services are in there. Also, we have behavioral health clinicians that'll be doing groups, individual therapy type sessions will be in there as well. That's on the adult and the kid side. Of course, the curriculum is different for kids, of course. But those are kind of the standard types of services that you're going to get in the facility. Yeah.
Okay, and you say on the back side there will be the youth, the adolescents in there.
Mhm.
What kind of divide will there be between the adults and the adolescents?
We haven't we have to put out you all know this, we have to put out 3 bids for the architecture and construction. That's part of the rules of this. So we haven't decided on architecture yet, but the idea is to kind of mirror. There's been a couple around the state that have done this where they've kind of shared space. You're going to kind of separate it with parking lot and security and things like this. So they're not going to be on top of each other in terms of that. There was some discussion about maybe 2 stories, something like that. But whatever we land on, whatever is feasible in that space, will have adequate security, of course, and of course parking.
And then who's responsible for the operational costs for our maintenance of the facility?
The Department of Behavioral Health. Department of
landscaping,
Behavioral Health.
All of that's
Yeah, Department of Behavioral Health, yes, sir. Yeah, we've already received our first contract from the Department of Behavioral Health.
all right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Board members, are there any other questions at this time? All right, come on up, COO.
Good evening, Board. So Chad and Jennifer, who's been very helpful in helping provide context to the relationship with the Department of Behavioral Health and Viewpoint, 2 things that the Board needs to consider. One of the questions you've already asked about whether or not, what's the dollar amount that would be moved from our SPLOS program over to the entity in question. The only question that we still have right now is whether or not that funding can be given to Viewpoint opposed to the Department of Behavioral Health. We're still working with legal and working through the tenants in that request to make sure that if the board is amenable to that, then we're giving it to the appropriate party. So I guess my question of the board to get in a direction, is it prudent for us to put this on the agenda for next Tuesday, or would y'all like some more time for you all to consider, I guess, the resolution to provide the SPLOS money to one of those entities, whether it's the Department of Behavioral Health or Viewpoint?
For me, just legal direction. Give me legal direction on this. I don't think this is based upon the board decision. We need to be guided legally. What's the best way to go about this?
Well, the question isn't whether or not the funding can be given or not. That's a policy decision.
Okay.
And so we'll have to still put a resolution on. We'll have clarity by next Wednesday whether or not the funding can be given directly to Viewpoint or to the Behavioral Health. So we'll have that information in the resolution. I just need to get direction from the board whether or not we can move forward with that.
For me, I would like to see it on the next agenda, and
Okay.
then Is anyone else?
Yeah,
You
I
good with
agree.
that? All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. All right, is that it? Thank you. All right, next on our agenda will be the Development Authority update by Dr. Brady.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Board of Commissioners. And this is the Development Authority of Clayton County. This is our, I would say that it's our quarterly update. This is the work, of course, the work session, and I believe you all have our staff gave you the, okay, here, hold on 1 minute.
I have a question before you begin. You're
Yes.
going through this presentation?
No, you all have the presentation.
Okay, I just want to make
So
sure.
what we're gonna do is skip a few, we're just gonna,
Okay.
if there are certain highlights in the presentation that you would like for me to expound on, then I'll expound on those particular highlights. But of course, this is a comprehensive
Okay.
report, so we want to make sure that you actually had everything you needed relative to the Development Authority, the current state of the Development Authority. I want to take a quick moment to thank you all for coming out to the State of the Development Authority. We've still we've been getting a lot of great feedback for the collaborative efforts of having our commissioners there with us at the State of the Development Authority. So where we are right now, of course, you see our executive overview, and we are on the cusp of really breaking through with new innovative initiatives. We have been, is it working? All right, here we go. So I'm just gonna take this one. Okay, got you. Of course, strategic branding, messaging, storytelling, impact narratives. So what we looked at over the past year was to rebrand not just the Development Authority, but being that the Development Authority is tasked with marketing for businesses in the county and bringing trade and addressing quality of life, economic growth, economic development, looking at controlling our narrative. And so we came in and we took a year to clean the authority with previous staff, previous executive director. We had to go from having a staff to actually cleaning the authority, putting policies in place, addressing certain operating standards before we actually brought on staff. And so after putting some sound policies in place and bringing closure to the previous administration, and then addressing the intergovernmental agreement, certain issues like that, we were able to retain a search firm. In the process of retaining a search firm, we retained a search firm a year ago to begin a search for an executive director, which is currently the CEO and president, and I believe that most county development authorities have moved from executive director to CEO and president. And so with retaining the Chasing Group, they went through a series of candidates, both locally as well as national. And while we were doing that, we were concurrently working, as we utilized the term working board, because the authority potentially had to work, even though we were short of staff and leadership in that position. But we identified a strategy to to adopt the 500, the Momentum 500. And that initiative is simply a thought of, if we have great businesses in the county, if we have 500 of those small businesses that are quality businesses who we could actually help incubate and grow, and put through a rigorous program called Momentum 500, in which, of course, we connected with Clayton State University, and we actually paid for a strong, intensive curriculum for small business owners to go through that program and come out with greater outcomes, as well as capital grants. So many of you heard that a lot of the businesses received grants in excess of $300,000. Those grants were for capital improvement. It was more or less equipment, but it gave rise to greater outcomes, even with the training that we paid for the small businesses. Positioning ourselves to where we actually have a presence on social media. Everyone knows that, of course, cable television is kind of leaving, and there is a great amount of social media. And so positioning the county to where we're at the forefront in social media, and people are actually knowing about Clayton County, engaging into digital media, expanding the authority's digital visibility through refreshed platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So really honing in on marketing. And I believe that's something that we have not really honed in on historically. And one of the things that the authority had pretty much engaged in is strong marketing, so we can actually tell our story. Not the authority story, but the county story, and being able to promote that. So we're taking off various opportunities. Of course, the second annual State of the Authority, we had identified those recipients, and they were there. We have a benchmark, of course, again, 330,000 deployed, 120 businesses, qualified businesses applied. And so one of the things that we noted in those businesses, that there are many businesses who did not, they're quality businesses, but they don't have a business license. So getting them into compliance is key, and it will give rise to more funding for the county. So of course, I wanted to just make a note of FIFA, World Cup community campaign. That's the kickoff. Where do we sit, with that particular industry that's coming, that's here? Are we behind as a county? Yes. We should have probably been preparing for FIFA 5 years ago. But what do we do now? We can address the spillover. We can address the spillover through the Sports Council that we have in place, Sports Entertainment Council, to actually fortify some initiatives where we can actually hone in on getting some activity from the World Cup that's hitting Atlanta. We've developed a strategic partnership. There was a big struggle in the beginning, Office of Economic Development, Development Authority, and we're over on our side of our fraternity, and that's their fraternity, and we're not going to. So what we did was looked at all that and said, okay, let's see if this is the will of the Board of Commissioners in this season. Let's figure out how do we work together. And so with that, we developed a strategic partnership with Director Ejike, and really honing in and leveraging both. I myself personally can recall a conversation that I had with Director Ejike, and just putting together a matrix, okay? The biggest question has been, who do I call? If they're a business and they want to come into Clayton County, who do we call? Who do we go to? So do we go to the Development Authority? Do we go to Office of Economic Development? Do we call the CEO? Who do we go to? So becoming a specific point of entry and developing a SPO that integrated the Office of Economic Development and the Development Authority, we began to really see that we could actually work together and be stronger together. One of the weaknesses that we could possibly bring to the table when looking at businesses that may be on community development side would be a finance analyst to actually see if a business is actually bankable. And those of you who know that development authorities essentially serve as the county's subject matter expert as a whole for economic development. And so kind of having that piece that is able to come to the table and work with the department, and the department looks at zoning, looks at licensing, permitting, and having the development authority focused on bonds or financing. Some deals are not necessarily bond deals. Some deals are actually just deals. They have the money, they're bankable, they just want to actually come to Clayton County. So that's where we don't actually have to issue the bonds. But we need to look at incentivizing. And that's the biggest, I would say this year, before this year is out, I would like, and I believe the authority would like, to really have a roundtable meeting with our commissioners to develop an incentive package. Commissioner Allen, we've discussed at length on what does that look like. How do we really address a tax incentive? I know we need taxes, but we have to be able to give something to get something. And even if that giving is not necessarily a huge tax break, how do we win business from Henry County? How do we win business from DeKalb County? Because it becomes a competition. And we have to have something that they don't have. We know we have it, but we actually have to be creative with that. And so cultivating those connections, public engagement, of course, we've really been a part of just bringing forward the untold. Many of us have, we're always at functions, but it's not necessarily officially posted. You may run across something online and say, okay, oh wow, that function was a great function, but it wasn't really kind of officially pushed. And so actually honing in, pulling those actual functions and showing that this is a county that is engaged, and strategically we are intentionally being, at the table. So continued stakeholder engagement, that's key for the current state of the authority. Sustaining the workforce. Of course, we spent over $600,000 this past year on workforce training, working with the sessions, working with the Perry Learning Center, construction ready, getting our folks gainfully employed, trained to where they are, and hosting workforce job fairs. The second annual, of course, this leads to the second annual Career Resource Expo 2026, which was, it was April 22nd, a blast. Hundreds of our citizens came out to apply for jobs. Some hired on the spot. These are not just minimum wage jobs. These were high-paying workforce jobs. So everyone was there, from the Department of Human Services to the Marine Corps. Everyone was there. And so it was a great opportunity. There was Southern Crescent Technical College was there. Of course, we were able to address a lot of the community needs We really want to get this done every quarter, have a major career expo every quarter for our citizens. And what we're thinking is maybe we hosted this in Commissioner Hambrick's district, Riverdale Town Center, I believe. That's your district, Commissioner, I believe. And if we can actually have one in every district, in 4 districts, you know, it would actually help kind of bring the entire county into this whole career expo and resource, because there were also resources there. Head Start was there. So we had all the players at the table. So connecting that talent. Transforming investments, of course, advance to 2 conditional bond inducements resolutions. Now, bond inducements. Of course, we know that the data center, okay, the data center is coming, is here. The data center was coming and was here before the data center came to the Development Authority. And so now that it's here, what do? We don't throw it on the Development Authority. We don't throw it on the Board of Commissioners. We have to say, okay, it's here. We have a moratorium on data centers, so at least we have a close right now. But what we have right now, how do we deal with it? How do we figure out, you know, what we want from it? Now the good part is this, that this is the inducement was the beginning stage. Of course, as you know, the inducement starts the process, and then after that, there is the resolution to actually approve the bond. And of course, after that, it goes to the validation Superior Court, and from there, closing, etc. There are a lot of things that could take place in the meantime. So you have this data center, and then you have an end user. The end user is actually the software company, if you will, that will actually come in and lease space from the data center. And so the end user is a multi-billion dollar publicly traded company, CoreWeave, and they actually, they are a $3.7 billion inducement. So I want to just say this. This is the first time that we are actually engaging in history of actually issuing over $1 billion or $1 billion. And so as we do this, we want to actually have a set, we want everyone to be at the table, because the end user in their inducement have a community engagement agreement that we actually determine what we want in that community engagement agreement. And it could be funds, it could be whatever we want in that community engagement agreement. And that is contingent on approving the bond. So the numbers would have to work. We are at the point to where if the numbers don't work, then it's not working for the county. So the numbers have to work. And the numbers have to be equal to or greater than. We have to see a payback significantly from these 2 entities. The data center, which is already here, and of course the end user, which is CoreWeave. So last thing I want to share, maybe 2 more things I want to share, then I'll open up for any questions. We're launching this next generational digital platform that is what we're looking at is empowering economic intelligence for Clayton County. And that's going to be a cross-county engagement app where you actually take the app and you eliminate the question on where to, who do I call. You're in Florida and you want to do business in Clayton County, you can actually click on a link and you can click on Forest Park, and it'll give you land that's available, sale, it'll give you zoning, it'll get all of that, and it'll actually give you financing resources, the bond resources, everything kind of centralized that we can actually work with the Office of Economic Development and with Development Authority and other components to actually bring that into to 2026, 27, so we can actually use an app to actually hone in on the interest of a business all the way to the actual acquisition, purchase, or implementation of that business. Aside from that, we did, after going through many applicants, the authorities is in the right position. We announced our newly hired president and CEO, who's with us tonight, Mr. Maceo Rogers. Maceo comes with a great deal of respect from across the nation, and Maceo's has worked all across the state. Is very well known. The authority wanted someone with a good name, someone who was seasoned and known. And we were at the Georgia Economic Development Association in Savannah, and we're just talking, different authorities, just hanging out, talking, and I believe we was talking about, well, we're still under search, for an executive director, and several names came out, but Maceo's name was known and well respected in that area. He's also worked with quite a bit of our county directors across years ago. He's worked with Director GK, so he has a lot of connections across county. So over the next 6 months, we're going to be really honing in, meeting with each commissioner, and actually meeting with the various stakeholders as to hone in on your initiatives. And now you actually have someone that's full-time, fully dedicated with a good staff to actually help push those initiatives, as well as address overall economic development and economic growth. So at this point, I will conclude this presentation and ask for questions, comments.
I will ask for questions.
Yes.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions at this time?
Yeah, I have
Mr. Davis.
one quick question.
Yes.
What's the Development Authority's next 3 top priorities?
Next 3 top priorities is one, the bond inducements. That's at the top of the schedule. The bond inducements, which is essentially upwards of $8 billion. I believe approximately $8 billion. So those are the next. That's number 1 priority, to deal with that. The second priority is to look at our Momentum 500 and bring on the second cohort of businesses, small businesses, that are in Clayton County, into that cohort. And of course, as we look at the new administration, to actually not neglect that, but actually push the momentum of new administration to go to actually get self-study of where we are, what we have right now, and actually go ahead and start moving in that direction as to implementing the new CEO and president goals. And with that third priority, the authority actually has a full comprehensive plan that we have submitted to the president as to address 10-day plan, 90-day plan, 6-month plan.
Okay.
So we're going to be honing in on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hambrick, you have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the agreement with, between the Development Authority and the, what is this, what is this place, the company that's already here?
The company.
The,
TA Realty?
Is that the data center?
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the agreement with the, between the Development Authority and the data center?
So the agreement is I believe that outside of the inducement.
That's what I want to know about,
Yeah,
yes.
that's, so the inducement is the trigger to say, we're interested. And so at that point, we're interested. In that inducement, I believe there is a schedule that has to go through, and legal is here, so correct me if I'm wrong, just holler at me. But it goes through, if there's a tax, some type of tax incentive, as it would probably be, considering that anything that the authority funds, it automatically triggers a tax incentive, because the authority actually, it's in the authority's.
Not all that responsible.
It's held by the title. It's held by the authority, and so, but within that agreement.
Ms.
there's a-
Youngblood, will you come up to the
Yeah,
podium,
that
please?
agreement, you can actually tweak, and council actually can explain it a little bit better than I can. I understand it, but
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So,
Good evening.
Commissioner Hambrick, to your question, where things stand currently is that there has been a bond inducement which expresses a willingness to issue bonds. As Dr. Brady said, that's under certain conditions. That includes review by an independent financial advisor, which in this case is Ed Wall, and that is at the expense of the company, not at the expense of the authority or the county. And it includes the development of the community benefits agreement that Dr. Brady referred to. That is still in the development process. That has not been finalized. Until those things are done, nothing goes forward. That's part of the condition that he referenced as far as the issuance of the bonds. So the authority obviously invites all of you, any community benefits that you would like to see, please convey that to the authority so that that can be addressed in the community benefits agreement, because that's where things stand right now. Is that it is conditional.
So with the bond inducement, what if the developer is seeking things like, lower interest rates, tax exemptions, and financing? Would we say we don't want to do that, more or less? We say make them pay what they're supposed to pay. What do we do in those instances? Because you all are giving them those options by doing this.
So the interest rate is not affected.
Okay.
The taxes, that is a function of state law,
Mm-hmm.
but it is also something that can be negotiated.
So I'm talking about the tax exempt framing. That's
Yes,
what I'm
ma'am.
talking about.
So that is by operation of state law,
Mm-hmm.
but the payments that they make can be negotiated. You have
Okay.
a couple of different avenues that you can do that, and without boring you with how that plays out legally, you do have a couple of different avenues that you can use to accomplish that. And one of the things that has come up in the past, probably a year or so ago, was discussions about the development of a comprehensive incentive package that the tax assessors, the Board of Commissioners, that you all, that everyone agrees on, so that there is a standard package that everyone has agreed on in advance that can be presented to whoever comes to this board or to the Development Authority.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think
Oh, I don't have a question, but I did have
Wait
a
minute. I
comment.
think Commissioner, I'm sorry,
You weren't
Commissioner
finished.
Hambrick wasn't finished. Commissioner Hambrick.
Okay, well, we're talking about incentives and all that for this data center.
yes.
Now, I'm hearing all over that they are the ones that have the money, and they are the ones that are paying other places to come. So why are we offering them anything?
That's a good question.
Well, that's what I just said.
Hold on, I didn't get it from you, but I understand your question, Commissioner Hambrick. The question is clear, and I believe that it's almost rhetorical in that we have a separate bond inducement that incorporates a community engagement agreement that could pull whatever they may have as a incentive. So if we're getting just hypothetically, if we're getting $100 million over 10 years, and they are essentially saving 20 million or 27 million, 28 million over 10 years, then I'm looking at the inducement that's connected to the community engagement agreement to have at minimum equal to or greater than that coming back to the community engagement.
Has the agreement been completed?
No, so once we get to that place, that's where we want you all to actually be at the table to see, okay, how do we make this deal a win-win deal? It's great to have a data center that's green. It's a green data center. And data centers, I mean, they make money. They are a money-driven machine, billions of dollars. However, we want to be able to make sure that we're on top of in that agreement, and then there are clawbacks in that agreement to where you can't just say that you're going to do this and you don't do this or provide this or this level of funding. There could be clawbacks in there.
Well, let's continue to talk on that.
Yeah.
Another thing, the agreement with those businesses that were at the State of the
Yes.
Message and all from Development Authority. Now, there was mentioned that we gave them, or they have been given X amount of dollars.
Yes.
So what is the agreement for them to, in return, what are they to do for the county?
Well, these are businesses of the county. Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing is we actually have an outcomes where we have an outcomes evaluation where our Chief of Workforce and Development Training, Dr. Sean Johnson's, her area is to actually monitor and look at and evaluate both qualitative and quantitative analysis of the outcome of these businesses, following up 3 months, following up 6 months to show the growth and see if there's a need for additional, help, but to show significant kind of growth. That's what we want to do as far as that's what they have to do for the county. Of course, within that, they're hiring within the county. So they're providing jobs within the county.
So what if they go a bust or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they owe us?
No, they don't owe us. The ultimate goal is, of course, these are small businesses. We know that the backbone of our county economy is small businesses, not totos, small businesses. So what we need is we need to incubate these small businesses and provide resources, small grants, to where when they get to a place, they can come and ask for a bond finance for a $20 million expansion, or $10 million expansion. But in turn, what they're doing, they're Clayton, they're hiring Clayton citizens, and they are actually legitimate businesses. So bringing them into compliance where they're paying their business license, they're maintaining business license, sales taxes, et cetera.
Well, they better pay. We've already given them money.
So. That's one way we catch them, and it's like, okay, there were many that were great businesses, but they would think that the Secretary of State registration gave them legitimacy to operate. But in Clayton County, you need a business license. So that opens up that
So,
door.
Doc, are we excluding the Totos and the other big businesses, the Clorox or the larger businesses? Are we excluding those, or do we have something that you all have drawn up to not only small businesses, but we need to bring in
Right, so,
money?
so as far as, speaking of money, I just dropped my money.
Oh, that's mine.
Did I drop some more?
Uh-oh.
So, no, we're not excluding. However, when you look at small business, we want more businesses. There are more small businesses that could pop up and give rise to strong economic impact than there would be fishing for maybe a year or two for a big business. So in the meantime, let's capture the small businesses that we have and let's innovate those businesses. Clorox's, we've bonded, but there again, there's bond financing. So we want to be able to, and we can attract great businesses if we have a great incentive, but we don't have an incentive. So I believe, and to Commissioner Davis' point, we probably need to have a fourth tier to that, and that's to address the tax incentive so that we know exactly what we're willing to pay or what we're willing to offer. And that way we can cast the net and it's not, well, what are we going to be losing, et cetera, but we want to get those big businesses. When you get those big businesses, we have to be able to provide some type of tax benefit.
Okay. Well, I don't want to prolong it, so maybe I need to come to some of your meetings and all, and
Yes,
listen
ma'am.
and maybe
Or
offer suggestions or
yes,
whatever.
please.
Because I have a different thought about development authorities, and so we can talk
Yes.
at one of your meetings and all, some of your meetings.
Even if it's just coming to the office, or we come to your office and have a sit down and you tell us the way you
Okay.
see, and we'll.
What I'm thinking that,
Yeah.
what the development authority can bring to Clayton County, that's
And
where
if
my
it's,
mind is.
if
with
it's
that.
within, and if it's within our constitutional statutory right, we're the tool, use us.
Right, okay, thank you.
Use us.
I want to add a fifth priority to you guys.
Yes.
The signing of the IGA that the county presented you, what's the timeline on that? When we're going to get the signature for that?
I believe that we're still, if I'm not mistaken, that was sent back to the county and we're supposed to be meeting again or something like that.
Okay, so it expires the end of this year? I better hurry up. It's going to be nothing.
Yes, because I have suggestions on
Yeah,
that too.
so,
We all have suggestions.
yeah.
Well, I think that if you have suggestions, you gotta, please get them to us, because we've met with Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Allen, and so if we get that back, I think that it would be more effective, and if everyone lay their eyes on it, and not just two commissioners, because we have one that's going to support. Let's really lay our eyes on it and see what you really want to see, and make it fair and something that you can remember. You're coming to us you want to be able to utilize us and be able to send businesses our way who may need some help and they may not be able to get it from the community block grants or et cetera, and they're readily available, or big businesses. You want to have a strong authority, and what we receive is it's helping. It's going to help subsidize, but we want to eventually get to the place where we don't need it. And how do we get there? Through those big inducements, those bonds, where they pay annual fees, and those annual fees go to the authority, and that, typically.
Are you all the ones that do the maybe billboards or go to other counties or other states and advertise Clayton County, or
Yes,
we're open for business?
Yes.
Kind of thing? You all are the ones?
We have that statutory right for promotions trade, industry, employment. So that's the wiggle room that gives us that power, gives you that authority to utilize your authority to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right,
Commissioner
Commissioner
Reeves,
Reeves.
did you have any questions at this time?
Oh, I didn't have a question. I know we've covered a number of topics. I just want to provide some clarification about the community benefits agreement. I want
Yes.
to say, Attorney Reed, we met with the developer, TA Realty, in October or November of last year for discussions in regard to the community benefits agreement. That also included some robust feedback from District 1 residents. And so we'll likely be having another public meeting to invite District 1 residents to come out and to discuss what items they want in that community benefits agreement.
All right, that's great, that's great. And let us know, and we'll be there. And I would suggest to all of all the commissioners, that community benefit agreement is not just for District 1. That is for Clayton County. So I would say that you all should be there as well, have your citizens, or even if we have to come to your districts. And I believe TA Realty has agreed that they would actually come to the various districts to share and listen as to what you all want. Just have to ask.
Chair, one last statement. All data centers are not alike.
Right.
So this is a realty company you all are dealing with. Make sure they define the type of data center that is coming here, because some data centers are good, but not all data centers are good.
I got you. However, that is not on us. That's for you all.
That was
Okay.
approved in 2023.
Okay. No, not
Yeah.
the type, just the data center.
Yeah, but
And
Zoning for
2024.
that was
that's y'all.
approved.
And
All right.
it was approved in 2024 as
All right,
well.
that's you all. But we will acquiesce
Okay,
to,
great.
what we can do. All right?
All right,
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you. All right.
Thank you.
May we be excused, at least myself.
We don't care what you do, as long as you. All right, next on there is Flint River Boys and Girls Club. And as Flint River is coming up, I do want to let the public know also, we have our tax commissioner who is here today, and we have SB 33, which is the statewide homestead exemption that mirror HB 581, which limits the increase of taxable values to the rate of inflation. So I want to let everybody know it's very, very important that we focus on bringing in revenue and bringing in things into this county where we can move it forward. So basically, it makes the statewide homestead exemption mandatory now. So we've got to have economic development, and we've got to have people who actually live in this county, serving on these boards and doing what they need to do, and making sure that we have what we need throughout our county. So I know I'm gonna let you all go on, but I want to get that spill out. And Madam Tax Commissioner, I'm gonna actually have you to come up towards the end, if you don't mind, just to talk about SB 33 as well. Yes.
Good evening, Madam Commissioner, Board of Commissioners, and it's nice to see you again, Commissioner Allen. Thank you guys for having us. This is Michael Maxwell, our Executive Director for the Flint River Club. I think many of you know him. Amelia Davis, who is our Regional Director, and David Garcia, who is our Director of Government Relations. I am Libby Saylor-Wright. I'm the President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta. For those of you who are not familiar with the Boys and Girls Club, which I can't imagine that there are many who are not, but our mission really is around making sure that we're igniting the unlimited potential of kids and teens by creating safe, inclusive, and engaging spaces. And we do that with the hope of obviously creating thousands of young leaders that will thrive in the future. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the entire Metro Atlanta Boys and Girls Club, but then I will let the team give you a little bit more details specifically about the Flint River Club, and then something exciting that's happening in Clayton County to expand our presence here. So we have 26 clubs across 9 counties. Of course, Clayton County is obviously the best. We have been in existence now for about 85 years, serving a number of young people. We make sure that what we are doing is identifying the places of highest need and then having a club in that space, because we know the critical nature of having out-of-school safe spaces, and that is our primary goal. At this particular time, I'm happy to say that we serve about 8,000 members across the metro area annually. This gives you the breakdown, but we do everybody from K to 12, but also have a strong alumni network, and so we stay in contact with the alumni of the Boys and Girls Club, serving our young alumni up to about 24 years of age, so that continues to expand. It's important for you to know that the majority of our club members, so about half of our club members, have incomes, household incomes of less than $30,000. Additionally, about 75% of our club members come from single-parent households. So when we talk about serving the kids that are of the greatest need, that is exactly what it is that we're doing. And we don't necessarily just define need based on socioeconomic status. We also define need in a number of different ways, and I will tell you, every single child needs the quality that we provide in our programming. We have a way that we do that. We have what we call our formula for impact, making sure, again, that we're identifying the communities of greatest need. We're then matching that with some very specific outcome-driven club experiences, and then have some key priority areas. Those priority areas are around academic success, making sure that we're helping our third graders at their literacy rates, our eighth graders for numeracy, increasing high school graduation, and making sure that our young people are graduating with a plan, so more important than anything. We do character and leadership from the time that they come to us as little itty bitties until the time that they leave us as teens. And then our healthy lifestyle is some of the things that we're best known for as it relates to making sure that we have sports and activities and nutrition that's critical for our young people. I've kind of covered this already, but I will tell you on the bottom where it says college and career readiness, for us that has changed a little bit. We are now specifically talking about life and workforce readiness and experiences. That is different in that we know that the majority of our young people may not choose college as an option, so we're going to continue to get them ready for college, but we're also going to provide them with skills and trades so that they can be available and able to work immediately at the completion of high school. And now, with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Maxwell.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
So as the person who is on the front line, the person who is working directly with the youth of the Flint River Community Center, Boys and Girls Club, I just want to kind of give you the county-specific information. So the club opened in March of 2021 in the Flint River Community Center, a 5,000 square feet facility dedicated to club space, including a learning center, gym, and teaching kitchen. The launch of the club was made possible by the generous support of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, Flint River Community Center Steering Committee, Clayton County Public Schools, and Comcast Tech Center. So I'm just going to kind of just do a summary of the upcoming slides just to let you know. So the program impact academic success, 100 plus hours of homework assistance. So what we try to do every day is to make sure that the kids come in and the first thing they do, once they eat their snack, once we make sure that they have the energy, is we go to homework, what we call homework time, power hour, enrichment time. After that, then the kids split up by age groups, and then they go to the different programs. We have the character and leadership programs, programs for the young ladies called Smart Girls, Passport to Manhood for the young men, and different things like that, positive action and stuff like that that we have the children participate in. 80 plus youth participate in character and leadership programs. 120 plus youth participate in organized sports leagues. The club operations, as stated earlier, Ms. Amelia is our regional director. I am our executive director. And we have our school partners are Point South Elementary, Brown Elementary, E.J. Swint, just to name a few of them. Now, we pick up from as many as we can, but some of them, the children are responsible for getting there. In order for us to pick up from a location, there has to be at least half of our bus capacity of the amount of kids that at that school that are interested in the program. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, we do enrichment hour, triple play, that's our sports and healthy lifestyles, dance, smart girls, positive action, career launch, money matters, flag football, cheer, and youth of the year. We also do Keystone, Torch, and Passport to Manhood. Now, is all of this happening simultaneously? Some of it is seasonal. Some of it is when we can get the necessary volunteers or the staff with the necessary knowledge of those particular sports and stuff in. But we do all of this at some point throughout the year. All right, so that concludes my portion, and I will turn it back over to Dr. Libby.
Oh, I've become a doctor, thank you. I love that. So this is really exciting. When I said that we were going to launch our 27th club, this is our 27th club. It is a mobile club experience. It is in partnership with Delta Airlines. It is dedicated to Clayton County, and we are going to launch, soft launch this summer, do some testing, have our ribbon cutting in August of this year. This is the first time that we're testing this type of club model. It's an exceptional opportunity for us to reach more kids. We believe that with this model, we will be able to reach a minimum of 500 more kids that we will touch in Clayton County on an annual basis. Our goal is to start by taking it to middle schools and engaging with the middle schoolers, because much of what is included in this particular club is more STEM-based. We will be able to fit about 15 people in the actual club, but then at the same time, we can have programming that is outside of the club with screens and awning that you often see on the outside of a vehicle. So this is an exceptional way for us to bring new services, and we're really excited to be able to do it in partnership with Delta and here in Clayton County. So we wanted to make sure that you guys really understood how excited we are about this investment. I can keep going, just unless you want to come. Okay, so this is Miss Amelia. She's going to talk about our Youth of the Year and how that works.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Miss Amelia. So our Youth of the Year is the highest honor that a member could receive at the Boys and Girls Clubs in Metro Atlanta. So every year we select the Youth of the Year. This year our Youth of the Year was Louise. Louise is a 17-year-old senior at Lovejoy High School, Mondays Mill High School. And she's done very well this year. This was actually her second time running. And so what happens is you get selected at your club site, and then you compete against the other 26 clubs and other 26 Youth of the Years in Metro Atlanta to be named the Youth of the Year of Metro Atlanta. And from there, the Youth of the Year goes on and compete on the state level, and the Southeast level, and hopefully compete on the national level to become the face of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So Larice did really well this year. She did really, really well last year as well. Also as a part of the Youth of the Year program. So the Youth of the Year program is really a scholarship program for our youth. So every time they win at their club level, they get a scholarship, and every level that they go up to, they get more and more scholarship money towards their secondary education. And so again, Louise is graduating this year. And she will go on she wants to attend Spelman College, which is what she told me.
All right.
And so we'll be looking forward to Youth of the Year, to Louise continuing her education. And once she graduates, and out of the blue door, she now becomes an alumni of Boys and Girls Clubs in Metro Atlanta. And so we stay connected, as Libby mentioned, to continue to help her out through a college or whatever she's going to do after she graduates from the blue doors of Metro Atlanta.
Did we have a young man?
Yes.
That won the national.
Yes, Elias. Elias was our Youth of the Year 3 years ago now. He is just finished his sophomore year at Tuskegee University, so he'll be going into his junior year, and he's studying to be a veterinarian. And so actually he's back now he works part-time as an internship at PetSmart. So if you have a pet here in the area, just take them on up there and let them see Elias and give him some work. It's work to do. And so, as the regional director, I'm kind of behind the scenes. Mr. Michael is the captain of the ship. I am the co-captain. And I usually work with our board and all of our partners to bring in partnerships and programming with our clubs. And as you can see, these are some of the our board members here, which includes Commissioner Allen. And then some of our local partners, which includes the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, the Community Center, the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Police Department, are some of the local the partners that we work with for advocacy and support of the club. And that's it.
All right. Board members, are there any questions at this time?
Yes,
All right, Commissioner Allen.
the mobile bus, if it's dedicated to Clayton, I would have liked to see more Clayton County, instead of the Metro of Atlanta, or, I mean, I understand Delta has to be on there. That, if it's not wrapped already, that would have been nice to see, since it's dedicated to Clayton County, the wrap on the bus.
So thank you for that feedback. We will have the club dedicated geographically to Clayton County. The alignment in terms of the wrap came between Delta Airlines and the Boys and Girls Club, but we will take that back and see if there's anything that we could do at this time.
And then also, where is the mobile clubhouse going to be parked?
It will be primarily parked at the Flint River Club when not in use, and then it will obviously move around.
And then how would you select the schools that, are we gonna start? I mean, I would recommend we start up North Clayton area, then work our way down. But you actually, we may not even have to come down south since the club is already south, so maybe we can focus on the North Clayton area.
Right, so there is, yes, and we can use that mobile club as a recruitment tool. So the way we identified the areas that we were gonna go is the areas that we weren't serving yet or weren't being serviced by the existing club. And we did like a little bit of a heat map, I think, using some of the United Way data to determine where we had the greatest need. And so we are focusing on areas that we're not currently serving in Clayton County.
Perfect, that was all I had, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other questions at this time, board members? Thank you so much. Your presentation was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next will be our FY 2025 audit presentation by Ms. Meredith Lipson.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners. My apologies. Ms. Lipson had a family emergency moments ago, so we need to reschedule this presentation.
We'll have her on the next one in June.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next will be item 5, Georgia Power, Mr. Michael Olajiboot. Did I get it right, Michael? Mr. O.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Michael Olajiboot, Region Executive. Olajiboot, Region Executive at Georgia Power. So today, I hope to provide y'all with an update around our growth strategy. As you all may know, Georgia in general is growing, and our electric capacity at Georgia Power is also growing. So I want to leave y'all, hopefully by the end of my presentation, with quick 3 items. Number 1 is there's a lot of, I would say, noise on the national level around growth, specifically around data centers and the impacts to the power grid, affordability, reliability. I want to let y'all know what the truth is here for the state of Georgia, separate fact from fiction. Secondly, to speak to why we believe growth is good for the state of Georgia. And I would preface that by saying smart growth is good for the state of Georgia, in which the community provides input and is supportive, as well as our local and county leaders. And lastly, want to make sure that everyone also knows that from a Georgia Power standpoint, again, we have a strong focus on our communities and affordability and all that good stuff. So I'll run through that here real quickly. So as I spoke about that, the state of Georgia is growing. As you all know, the state of Georgia is the #1 state for business, 12 years and counting. And with that, Georgia Power is growing as well when you think about the electric capacity demand. Of course, again, I mentioned data centers. That is a big part of our growth, but we have a lot of organic growth from advanced manufacturing, manufacturing in general. As a matter of fact, in 2025, 60% of the job increase that we got was from advanced manufacturing. Just to put in perspective, our current electric capacity for Georgia Power is around 15 gigawatts or 15,000 megawatts. So in the coming years, we're almost double that capacity with the growth that we're seeing. 1 megawatt is roughly enough energy to serve like a Super Walmart or Publix, or around 25,000 homes. So again, speaking about data centers specifically, you can see kind of where the growth is from the Metro Atlanta standpoint. We're within the top 25 data center markets in the United States. Atlanta data center markets, operational capacity grew by 27% and is rising to roughly 716 megawatts in the second half of 2024, and ultimately to 912 megawatts in the first half of 2025. Also, from a geographic standpoint, you can see that growth is dispersed across the Metro Atlanta region. Up in the Alpharetta area is a location where we've had data centers for many years, and we see it's dispersed across Metro Atlanta and the state as well. So what I quickly wanted to share here is just, again, speaking to the national narrative. You all hear and see and through some of the headlines around what's happening with some of the other markets, energy markets. But again, today want to make sure that we clearly understand that's not happening in the state of Georgia. Our power grid is strong, and we have plans to continue to grow our grid. We're having a real focus on affordability and make sure that we're keeping our prices in check as well. So again, we are in transformational times in terms of the growth that we're expecting at Georgia Power. But quite frankly, want to share that Georgia Power, we're ready for this unprecedented growth that we're experiencing across the state because of our market structure, right? We're a vertically integrated, state-regulated utility. So when you think about vertically integrated, when you think about the value chain of energy, make, move, serve, Georgia Power, we own and operate all three of those aspects of the value chain. So the generation plants, the transmission lines where you transport energy across country, and also the distribution lines that serves our residents. We own that, and because of that, we're able to be more efficient, to save money, to save costs, so forth and so on. And again, we're regulated by the Public Service Commission as well. So again, we're set up for success and built for this unprecedented growth that we're seeing. As I go through the remainder of my presentation, again, I'll touch on our emphasis on reliability and why the growth that we're seeing is going to benefit reliability, affordability, as well as how we can leverage this growth to continue to pour into our communities from an investment standpoint. All right, so real quickly, with this growth that we're experiencing in the coming years, last year through our integrated resource plan, which we filed with and was approved by the Public Service Commission, we roughly got 10,000 megawatts of new electric capacity that's coming to the grid. So what that means for the state of Georgia, our residents, that we'll have a more robust grid and have more generation to not only serve the large load customers, but any economic development opportunities that we'll have in the state. So that growth includes solar generation around 3,500 megawatts, battery energy storage around 4,000 megawatts, and we're also reinvesting in some of our existing generation plants as well. From a transmission perspective, again, that's generation, how we move the energy, our transmission line through our 10-year plan. We've identified roughly about 1,000 miles of new transmission lines that we have to build across the state, again, to make our grid more robust and resilient. And at the end of the day, all of our customers will benefit from the growth that we'll be experiencing. Lastly, again, this is serving. So at the distribution level, year over year, we invest millions of dollars into our grid, and we'll continue to do that. Over the next 3 years, we'll be pumping over $1 billion into our distribution grid to make our grid more, again, resilient, more reliable. That's including smart devices, so forth and so on. So we have more resiliency in our grid and be able to serve our day-to-day customers more efficiently. So affordability, I know that's a major conversation, a major topic that we've all are very, very conscious of, and no different from us at Georgia Power. So kind of our three main tenets from an affordability standpoint. The first one being energy efficiency. We make sure that we have a lot of solutions and tools and resources available for our customers, residential customers, small business, large customers, to help make sure that they can be more efficient in terms of saving, making sure their bills are reduced because of that efficiency. Even for our residential customers, we have a program called the EASE program, Energy Assistance for Savings and Efficiencies, where customers, low to moderate income customers, can get up to $5,000 to help their homes be more energy efficient. At the end of the day, though, some of these homes that are older don't have the new energy efficient windows, insulation. Essentially, they're throwing money out the window. So we have plans to help support those initiatives. Also, we have a lot of tools in place where customers can manage their habits through our My Power Usage app. We also have flexible rate options for our customers, whether it's a prepay option or some other time of use rates that makes the most sense for that resident or business. And lastly, we help customers through financial support and assistance pay their bills through our income qualified discount, which gives customers up to $33, over $400 a year of savings for those low to moderate income customers. We also have a lot of partnerships in place with a ton of nonprofits through our community assistant resource locator tool, which we also offer and provide utility assistance through those various partnerships as well. So as it relates to data centers and what we have in place to make sure that they are paying their fair share and their infrastructure build out isn't negatively impacting our ratepayers. We have roughly 2.8 million customers across the state. We're in the 155 out of the 159 counties. We want to make sure that these large load customers that represent a very small subset of our customer base aren't negatively impacting our long-standing customers. So last year we made an agreement, and it was approved through the Public Service Commission, our rules and regulations that ensuring that these large load customers, data centers, are paying their fair share. So there are four main tenets of the rules and regs: longer term contracts, minimally around 15-year contracts, minimal bill requirement. So whether or not they use the power or not, they have a minimal bill that's going to help recover the cost of investment that we put into their infrastructure. Termination payment schedules are in place, and require huge amounts of financial security requirements up front before serving these customers. So there's a lot of protections, if you will, for our ratepayers that's are currently in place. Also, what we're doing around lowering rates and stabilizing rates. So last year, through our rate case proceedings, which was approved by the Public Service Commission, for the next 3 years, 26, 27, 28, we're holding base rates flat. So that 3 year, that's the window in which our rates are set through the Public Service Commission. Also, fresh off the press today, there was a press release through a couple of proceedings, our fuel case and also storm case, which mainly was associated with Hurricane Helene recovery. There would be a $4, over $4 or $50 a year savings for the average residential customer starting this summer in June. So continue to deliver as far as on the affordability calls. And lastly, our next rate case window, which starts in 2029, we've already agreed and was approved through the PSC through last year's RP all-source certification process that the average residential customer will see a saving of upwards of $100 per year, again, starting in 2029. And that's the floor. It could be more than that because we are expecting, we're leveraging the growth and the, that we're getting from these large load customers to help offset the rates for everyone else. Also, these large load customers, data centers, they have a vested interest and they want to make sure that they're doing things to positively impact the community. For example, we've have a partnership with Google, $5 million energy impact fund, where we're working with them to provide energy efficiency programs for the communities, and also working with other large load customers, data centers like QTS, for additional community resiliency programs and other affordability programs across the state. So these large load customers are wanting to give back, and they are giving back to the community in a number of different ways, especially around the energy savings front. So what I'll share here, again, large load customers, they're paying their fair share. At the end of the day, what the large load customers are required to pay is here. What we're charging them is somewhere in the neighborhood of here, and all this surplus is we're spreading across to all of our other ratepayers to ensure that their rates are going down. And it's, again, we're already seeing the fruits of that starting in 2029. All right, real quickly, Georgia Power, we like to say we're bigger than our bottom line. As you can see, we've done a lot of investments across the state for years and years and years. We're a citizen wherever we serve. So since 2025, we've donated to over 1,000 organizations, roughly around $34 million. I can speak specifically for Clayton County and a lot of the partnerships that we've had here locally, whether it's with the Calvary Refuge Center, whether it's Clayton County CSA, Atlanta School, Clayton County Public Schools Adult Education Program, a lot of different organizations that we're partnering with on a day-to-day basis to make sure that we're having a positive impact in the community. So lastly, I'll just touch into our stakeholder engagement. Of course, with all of this large load growth that we're seeing, transmission infrastructure projects, it's very important that we're communicating effectively with our stakeholders. We have a dedicated stakeholder engagement team that's using multiple different mechanisms to make sure that we're communicating to our customers proactively ahead of any major construction activity. We're doing any land surveying, so forth and so on. We're doing that in a number of different ways, whether it's postcards, custom letters, collateral, so forth and so on. We also have recently stood up project websites, which will speak specifically to those projects and provide the average resident customer with more information around some of these large load projects. And in certain circumstances, we do go out and participate in community meetings to provide that direct feedback to the communities and be able to answer any questions that they may have. Here I just wanted to speak to some projects that we currently have ongoing in Clayton County. The first one, the TA Realty project, that's really the only one that we have that's in unincorporated Clayton County. I know Dr. Brady was just kind of speaking to that project. The TPA Group project that's in Fort Gillum, that's in the city of Forest Park. And the last project there on the list, it's a Henry County project, TA Realty, but there is a area substation that's going to be built in District 3 around Lower Woolsey Road. So just want to call attention to some ongoing projects that we do have infrastructure being built for those projects as we speak. That's it. That's all I have. Any questions for me?
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time?
Well, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Is there a organizational policy in the event of a power surge? Who is primary to get energy? Is it our residents or is it a data center?
So in the event of a
Power surge, or if you have these power surges in the winter and the summertime?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
wondering, is there
so
an
if we
organizational
have
policy in place?
if there's a need, we have increased capacity, and you're saying, do we prioritize? How do we?
Correct.
So we hopefully we won't be in that situation, right? This past winter we had extreme cold weathers, and if you look across kind of the Northeast, some of those utilities were asking their customers to curtail load to drop off. So we've done a lot in terms of making our system more robust. We have PPAs, purchase power agreements with other generating resources that are, in close by in the state of Georgia or adjacent states that we can pull power from. And we can also buy power on the wholesale market. But we also have a program in place with some of our larger customers, larger industrial customers, where they voluntarily get on a curtailment rate, right? So those would be the customers that we will come to first, because they, we pay them to be on that program. So if there's a need, again, we don't foresee that happening, but if there's a need, those would be the customers that we'll call on to curtail load because they're already in that program.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions at this time?
Oh,
All right,
yes.
Mrs.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was about to call you Dr. Mike.
Okay.
Dr. Mike, don't leave yet.
Okay.
In regards to energy and capacity, can you talk a little bit more about the substations and, the substations, the separate substations that serve residential areas versus the large, low
Gotcha. Okay.
customer areas?
So yeah, great question. So your question is, when you think about how the energy grid is structured, right? You have, like I mentioned, make, move, serve. So the move is transmission. That's high voltage transmission lines and transmission substations. So that's 500 kilovolts or 230 kilovolts or 115 kilovolt substations. So these large data centers, they're primarily served from our transmission grid, because our distribution grid does not have enough capacity to be able to serve these our residential customers. So from a residential customer standpoint, they are served from distribution lines, our distribution substations, which is different from transmission substations. So when you think about these data centers, and we're directly serving them, so their service isn't impacting what we're doing on the distribution for our distribution customers, because they're on a totally different network, if you will.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Mr. CEO.
Right. Yes, ma'am. So I wanted to add one caveat to Michael's presentation. One of the things that we've gotten an influx of calls from our citizens around is they're increasing their electricity bill. And I know I've talked to some board members, but I want to specifically bring up that we're doing something different with our website. So for instance, what we call our EMCs, electric membership companies, some of the individuals that live in the Fayetteville side that's feeding Fayette County versus on the DeKalb side, say on the Clayton County side, was under the impression that the Board of Commissioners was responsible for any uptick on their electricity bill. And so there's a data center in Fayette County specifically, and the citizens on the Fayette County side was complaining about the uptick. Well, we had to explain to them that through the Public Service Commission, when you have issues with service providers, or better yet, uptick, that's who you provide your queries to, not to the Board of Commissioners. So what we're doing is making an addition to our website. Since data centers seem to be a hot topic and electric bills seem to be a hot topic, we will provide context to it on our website to give people a node, to give them who they can speak with, but more importantly, has a electric bill calculator and a multitude of tools you can utilize in order to educate them on the process. So we want to give the board an update on the fact that, because you maybe get a few phone calls about data centers, more importantly about the electricity bill, we're trying to get in front of that to educate our public about tools they can utilize off the county website.
And thank you for doing that. I can't remember, well, the young lady that called in, so you all handled and talked with her as far as, because she's up under Fayette County, but she lives in Clayton County. And so her bill went up to about, I want to say, was it $600, $700? It was extremely high.
It was extremely high, and
Yes.
Michael, it wasn't Georgia Power.
Yeah,
so.
it wasn't Georgia Power, but she wants Georgia Power now, but it wasn't Georgia Power. But thank you all for taking care of that as well. All right, next will be item 6, data center update from Ms. Vivian Thomas.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners. thank you for allowing me to be a part of your program tonight, and thank you for letting me present NADCAR. NADCAR is the National Association of Data Center Readiness, and as you can see, this is a hot topic, and I have been from the lower Georgia down to Dula County, all the way up to some counties I don't know where they are. We went there because people want information, and NADCAR is one of the places to get that information. So I want to talk to you about what we do and the services that we bring to the county. And oh, here it is, the little clicker. That's right. Oh, okay, I'm using the wrong one, I apologize. Okay, we are NADCAR, and what we do and our responsibility is to make sure operations of data centers are transparent, accountable, and that practices are consistent, not just in this county, but from county to county. And we have found in certain places, when they find that we're searching and working with a county, they actually move. And I can give you the truth about one that did just that, because they didn't want anybody to come in to help the county make the best decisions, to teach them about the language, to teach them about what should happen. How do we do this? We empower decision makers. We do research and analysis. We certify assessors. We have scheduled assessments. We implement local legislation. What else do? We make sure everybody is accountable for their actions. That means the data centers, the communities, the people around them, utilities. We're all involved in this process. But one thing, we go further. We publish our results. Let me step back. We publish our results in a grade system. The community comes first. No matter what we do, the community comes first, and people need to understand that. We need to think about that we're going to have informational forums, community readiness studies. We monitor harm stacks. We're looking for them, and we're looking to protect the environment. One of our persons we're working with now, he's 74 years old in Union City. He bought 8 acres of land for him and his wife to retire on. When he bought it, there were no data centers. Now there's one in front of him, there's one behind him. He's sick, he can't fish in his pond, he's worried about what's happening to his body. We're there working with him on that particular case. We're building relationships because relationships are important. We have to make sure we engage with Georgia Power. We engage with the Water Authority. We engage with funding companies because we build essential relationships. We want to make sure that you as decision makers have a competitive edge. We don't want people to surprise you and stand before you and give you a glorious, beautiful picture of what they're going to do for you and say, we're coming here and we're going to make sure you have $2 million in the next 5 years. What does that cost you? What are you doing in exchange? So we want to make sure you look at a local ordinance to implement in your area. And you should have, if you don't have a copy of that, I will email it to you. And local ordinance empowers you to have governance over data centers. Everybody want to know what to do. This is what you do. This is your town or this is your county. You need to have control over where they go, how they operate, what they're transmitting, and there should be a report system coming to you on a regular basis. That's what we do at NADCAR. NADCAR puts together those assessments for you. And believe me, you pay us nothing. That's a good thing. Because one person said to me, oh, you just coming because you want us to pay you a contract. We do not want a contract from Clayton County. We want to do our work, but we do not want a contract from you. But we do want accountability. We do want to be a partnership. We want the community healthy. We want to make sure there is monitoring and oversights through certified assessments. We want to make sure you have scalable growth and smart growth, and you can only do that with information. Here's what we're asking you to do. As a local government, look at local legislation. This is the part that you can play. For any expanding data center, any new data center, any data center that's been here in the last 15 or 20 years, any one of these types of centers that is in your areas, require them to have assessments. Pre-assessments. The building process should be different from that when you build a house. The materials should be certified for a data center. We want to make sure you're getting the best for your area. Within 6 months of them opening, have an assessment required to make sure their operating practices are according to what they presented to you and according to the local government, the state government, or the federal government. Someone has to be your eyes and ears on the ground, and that independent authority would be NADCAR. We want to make sure they make a passing score of 85% or higher based upon 100. That says to you, when you look at that information that we give you, that you know your community is protected. You know your water is protected. You know that they are operating according to a level of integrity, professionalism, and compliance. That 85 score says to your public that you are watching out for them. You're not just sitting here with another box, with a fence around a box saying, don't touch me. And that's what's happening now. Legislation requires visibility, and that's what we're asking you to do. To be the leaders in this area, make sure you put some form of local legislation in place so it can be visible. When a data center comes to you, instead of saying, what can you give us? I agree with you. You need to be saying, this is what you would do in order to operate here. You can't make more land, but you can build data centers anywhere. But land to find, you have the valuable assets. You have the water. You have the ability to negotiate because they need what you have. But you don't necessarily need what they have because you can make money another way. And I know someone is saying, but they got a lot of money, because that's what was told to me. I can tell you a county who thought they were getting a lot of money. I got the check in my email, $11,100 and something. Why? They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know the right questions. They didn't know how to put the agreements together. They thought that was a lot of money. And now we're trying to help them find a way to make that agreement amended in favor of the people. But that is the absolute truth. The paperwork that they submitted was 1 sheet and a half. That's all. Nothing else. They went to a board who didn't know what they were doing. They went to a board who didn't understand the process. So we're hurting people. And 80 to 90% of all data centers are in black and brown communities on purpose. And the company that did that is out of China. How in the world did they find that little bitty county down South Georgia out of China? Because they're like predators in some places. They're looking for them. But we can help with that. If you just stop for a moment, look at the local legislation that we're proposing to you and enforce that legislation, put it on your agenda and vote for it. You're protecting your people. You're protecting your environment. You're empowering yourself to get reports from a third party that's not dedicated to either one of them. Madam Chair, we have a Clayton County revenue engine that I can't go through with you right now, but we built it. And I'll say it again, we built it all around Clayton County. We're looking for a virtual meeting with you or anyone who would like to see how it works. And when you put your numbers into this engine, it actually gives you projections on what can happen if a data center comes to your area. It gives you impact projections. We have a real live heat map that your citizens can take to put information in to determine how they feel about a data center. It's being fed right now as we speak. So our information is direct, it's current, and it's being looked at by several counties, believe me, and cities. We're measuring the harm stack. We're measuring benefits. You should have some great benefits from what you're doing. When you're compromising I shouldn't say compromising, when you're offering to host a data center in your area, your people should benefit. Generations should benefit, because as they stated, this is a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry that has been operating for years covertly. They didn't just happen. They've been here since like 2004. But they came as storage units. They came as warehouses. They came with codes that we didn't have. And just all of a sudden, people began to wonder, what is that big box over there? And now the attention is placed on them. But they've been here for years. Now, since they are here, we need to make sure you, the decision makers, are in charge. You're governing, and you know what's happening on a consistent basis. In the state of Georgia, if I want my tag, I must get an admissions done every year. I have failed a couple of times too. But when I fail, they require me to go get the work done, to bring it up to status. NATCAR is that same process. We're not here to hurt them. We're not calling all of them bad. We're not. But we're saying if you're going to operate in our communities, if you're going to operate in our cities, we have an assessment process that you must follow. And in that assessment process, you must make 85% or higher within 100. If you do not, we give you a corrective plan of action. That corrective plan of action will come back to you all. You can determine if you want to, penalize them so many days or weeks. That's in your hands. We have nothing to do with that. But we're going to make sure they get that grade. Because if they're making a 55 in your community, you need to know that. And you need to know that someone is being harmed. Or maybe they're doing a great job, and they're making even more than what they had planned to make. Well, this is the time to negotiate, to say, hey, come back to the table here. We need to talk a little bit so we can make sure our schools are taken care of. We're putting you in a decision-making position, not a position to say, big, bad, we got you, but a position that says we have to share this world, we have to share this space, we are all accountable for it. The management structures for now and tomorrow and the next generations. I had someone say, well, I won't even be here, but my grandchildren will be here. Hopefully your grandchildren will be here. This is one world. This blue and green earth we share with everyone. So we're responsible for it. And we don't need to turn our backs on it. And we need to be strong enough as leaders to make a decision that if you're going to operate within our territories, we want you accountable. What I gave you is a template, and I apologize if I didn't email all of you. I will make sure you get that email. It is a template that you can use to decide how do you want to carve out an ordinance for your area. Now, one particular county we're working with said to me, Ms. Thomas, we have a very strong ordinance. I said, really, send it to me. And he did. Well, he's talking about the building process. He's still with zoning processes. He's talking about the permitting process. He's talking about setbacks. And he couldn't see the difference. He really could not. So when I went back and said, let's talk about what you really have here, he went, oh my goodness, well, I didn't think about that. We do need to think about that. See, we're talking about operations. We're talking about governing. We're talking about making sure they're accountable for their actions on a regular basis. Okay, we know you have a code enforcement. We want to make sure we enhance that. We know you have a fire department, but there's a different thing about putting out a fire over there than putting out a fire in a house. Where's that training? NATCAR offers that, and we position ourselves to make sure we're here at your service. And I want to say thank you for your time and position myself for any questions.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time?
Yes, I have several questions.
All right.
The first thing is, so what is your ask for the board for us to enact local legislations to regulate? And then you mentioned that you don't want a contract or you're not paid, so your ask for us is to just do the local legislation.
The local legislation, Commissioner Allen, gives you the empowerment to determine about how a data center operates, where it's located, what it's doing from the first 6 months in which it opened, and then annually. If that data center makes 85 annually, it's once a year. We go out and do an assessment.
Oh, wait, pause. you as in your organization, you guys are doing this for free?
No.
So there is
You
a
don't
cost.
pay for it.
Oh, you.
They do have to pay for it.
So the data center is
assessments.
paying for it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's
And
the same process. The best analogy that I can give you is very much like for your car when you're getting a tag, okay? You have to go through emissions to get it done. I have engineers and their teams. They will go on site to do these. I have another science engineer that came from the CDC. He retired when a certain person got in office. But anyway, he's now working with NADCAR. He will have his team out there doing all type of soil samples, air samples, qualities, looking at the venting system, whether it's done properly, is it changed properly. Chips have to be changed out in these data centers. Are they being changed on a regular basis? That's what we're looking at. The one man that I told you that has problems now, he can't even fish in his pond because of the film that's in the water.
Okay, and then my next question, you mentioned the 85 score. What happens if the data center falls below the 85 score?
You will get a report. That report tells you every area in which they have failed in to get that score. But we don't leave them there because we're not the big bad dogs. We're not doing that. We're going to make sure they get a corrective action plan. And that plan will give a recommendation how to get that score up. We're not trying to hide it. We want them to be better. They're in our community. And if necessary, we will help them find the people and the resources, meaning experts, to help them make sure that score is where it needs to be.
Okay, and then seems like we have 2 data centers approved already, and then one in Henry closer to my district. Where does this organization fit in, because everything is already approved?
When you put your ordinance in place, we will see what stage they're in. At that stage is where we start. If it's pre-construction, we do pre-construction analysis. If they have been open within 6 months, we do the 6-month assessment. If they've been open within 1 year, we do the annual assessment. If they've been here 10 years, we go in to see if they ever had an assessment. Have they done any upgrades? What have they done? 10 years and nobody know what you're doing? So that's what we have. We determine what stage you're in and determine what type of assessments needs to take place.
Okay, and then how is the NADCR regulated?
We are regulated. We organize ourselves out of a need. That's number one.
Okay.
We have aligned ourselves with other colleges who certify our works to make sure we're not standing out here alone, to make sure people say, well, how do we know you all are certified? Well, we have already aligned ourselves with those colleges who are stamping our work. Our assessors are graduates of other colleges. Then they take an 8 to 10, 12 additional course to be certified through NADCR, which is NADCAR, to make sure they are certified assessors.
And then my last question, although Project Speedway is in Henry County, it's close to my district. Are you guys working with Henry County?
We're presented to all counties.
Okay.
Several counties already have this and is getting ready to go up for a vote.
So no, you're not working with Henry County now?
Not now.
Okay.
But we are presenting to all counties that receive us. The same way we presented ourselves to Madam Chair, then asked to present to you all, we're doing that same thing.
Okay.
And
That's all my
next year, we
questions.
plan to be in Savannah.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time?
Well, you touched on it, but who are you? Not you personally, but your organization.
NADCAR came out of a need. There's always a first. There was a car that was needed, somebody created. Somebody had to determine that we needed data centers. That was a first. Someone decided we needed daycares. That was a first. NADCAR evolved out of a need. First, it was advocacy. I went to Chicago and met with a group, and that group had done so much research on the fact that data centers were invading Black and brown communities. Their focus was on the harm that was taking place. So as an advocate, and I am an advocate, I wanted to find out what's happening in my state and going beyond that. We have since joined other groups and come up with a process to make sure this need of making sure data centers are accountable has happened. So we are engineers, we are technologists, we are scientists, we are business people, we are all these people who've come together to present ourselves as NADCAR, the National Association of Data Center Readiness.
So how long have you all been in existence?
2 years.
2 years. how many members, or do you
The
have something
membership, I couldn't
statewide?
tell you because you have an open membership. If you go on our website, which is netcard.ai, there's a free enrollment process. And I don't know the numbers, and he's not here tonight, I can't tell you that. There's a free process that feeds into what we call a heat map. People around the world are sending in information about data centers in their areas, and they can do that on that website. So I personally don't know that number, ma'am.
And you're based out of?
Henry County.
Oh.
I am in Henry County. I am a former Henry County commissioner.
Oh, Vivian.
This came out of, this process came out of a need, not out of just something to do. I really went down to see at another summit what's happening in our community. And when we found out what happened, the next thing was to do, as we do as a people, galvanize our people, determine how to fight back and make it better. So we're not trying so much to say, vote yes, vote no. That's not my responsibility. But my responsibility is to get you good information, credible information from experts, not just people. They speak a language that I don't speak. My engineers do. I said, I'm going to another table. Sometimes when they get to talking. But I'm simply saying it grew out of a need.
So what makes you national?
That we are in so many different places.
Okay, so
We
you're
plan
all
to go
over.
global. In fact, yesterday, we were introduced to a project that's happening in Nigeria. And I asked them, well, which one of y'all going to Nigeria? Because I can't go now. But so we will be expanding to that point.
GK said, me too, and GK, I'm going with you.
We are
Eligible?
expanding to that
lot.
point because we're getting those kinds of calls. And I kid you not, because at this point, no one is determining what is happening. We are accepting them. We're giving them abatements. We're saying, write us these big checks. But they're not assessing what's actually taking place in the community. And in some cases, you need more than that check. My engineers have put together a process. That's why I said, Madam Chair, we really designed that board. I'm serious. And when we finished it and put Clayton County's information in it, the number that came up, what's something about that number? 40-something. Let me see. $4.8 billion? I said, oh, she's going to like that. That's what I said. But I'm simply saying to you, we have discovered things that are not being said to the community on purpose. And most of these companies have targeted councils and commissioners that they think are not knowledgeable about their practices on purpose. This is true.
Okay, so the fact that we were offering, possibly offering them an incentive.
I was sitting back there wondering why.
I
Thank
was
you.
too.
I mean, you own the dirt. They cannot make dirt. You own the water. I guess they can purify some water, do some sense, and some people say they can make it out of the air. But it's yours. You own the process and the governance. You have the upper hand. I have talked to some of these presidents, and I do not back down. And some now considering self-assessments without you all telling them to do it. Because guess what? They don't want you to tell them to do it. They say, well, what if we do the self-assessments? I said, well, that proves you want to be a good neighbor. It says you're willing to open your doors. Because we're knocking on them.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Any more
other
questions? I'm available to go to your communities. There is a community, I've already been to visit a community that needs help in Forest Park. But let me know if you need us to go out. One of the team members can go out and make presentations for you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next is zoning and revocation notices. Director Ejike.
That's not on here.
It's on the back.
Oh, man.
Y'all done flip the sheet.
Tricked us.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Cheryl Brooks on behalf of Director Patrick Ejike, Planning and Zoning Chief Administrator. So the zoning and
Thank
revocation
you.
notices.
I'm just telling them bye. All right.
So The purpose of the zoning revocation notices was to ensure that we are continuing to allow projects to move forward in Clayton County. We wanted to send out courtesy notices to the applicants to engage them to say, what is the progress of your projects that are coming into the county? We did it by 3 ways. You have one code that deals strictly with zoning and revoking that zoning process. You have conditional use permits where you may already have your zoning, but the use has to be board approved. And then finally, you have your planned unit developments. Those are slightly different from the code. That's in varying ways. So that's how you have to revoke it. So what did we do? We looked at the data and we said, let's focus on projects based on 2029 to 2024. This allowed us to send about 35 notifications. And with that, 13 applicants or representatives responded to us, and 22 did not respond. Again, this is about getting them to the table. Are you going vertical with your projects, or are you just letting this land sit that we can utilize in a different way? So what are our next steps? Our next steps is to meet with each Board of Commissioner member for their particular district to let them know what projects are on this list in order to revoke their zoning, conditional use, or PUD. This allows us to have a conversation about where their project stands and have information to the public that they could provide as well. Then from those meetings that we have with the commissioners, we still have to do proper notifications and things of that nature to actually revoke or terminate conditional uses or zoning documents. So that's our goal and our mission in our department, Community and Economic Development, in order to ensure that we are meeting the intent of our comprehensive plan that the board has and the community has said we want to move forward with. Thank you. If you have questions.
All right, any questions?
Oh, yes, I have several. So, thank you, Cheryl, for that presentation. I had a few questions about this process because I had developers reaching out to me stating that they had received a letter and they had questions about the process and how it was initiated, and I didn't have an answer to give to them. So I wanted to make sure that I had a better understanding of this process. And I had a few questions, including how is the Community Development Office, how are you all measuring, if no or minimal improvements have been made? Is there a rubric for that, or how do we identify which projects have not progressed enough to have their zoning revoked?
So the code in itself has, and I'll go back a little bit, definitions as it relates to what is considered abandoned, because that's what it basically is if you're abandoned. So little to no work is that you haven't did anything, like you haven't submitted a land disturbance permit, you haven't did a preliminary plat. You might have actually submitted a building permit, for instance, but never did anything within a year or 2 years. And so you did something, but not enough to say, I'm really working on this project. And that means if you have let it go from like a building standpoint for more than a year, it's gonna expire anyway. So the whole purpose is to have that conversation with the developers. And the letter in itself said, hey, contact Community and Economic Development so that we understand where your project is and why it has not moved. So if it's anything that we could do, we can help assist, we can.
So I want to get a better understanding of what either documentations would have need to be submitted within that 1 year, or is there a cost threshold or financial like a certain amount of money that a developer has put into a project for them to for it to be measured that they've made minimal improvements? I want to be able to, if someone calls me and says, well, I've done this and I've done that, I'm not understanding why I've gotten this letter. I can't answer that. I send them to you, but
Yes.
they came to, they were coming to me asking questions.
And really financial decisions on the zoning side, it depends on which code you're utilizing. Some of the code will allow you to take into account financial expenditures, and other parts of the code will not, because it's like, okay, you spent money up front to do maybe land and service and then stop completely for, let's say, 5 years. That may not be enough to get to say that you did not abandon your project. So it depends on the case by case aspect. That's why we asked them to reach out to our department, particularly because by the code, it depends on what type of scenario we are talking about or what code you are falling under.
Okay. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Okay, so I
You
got
wanna-
one quick
go
question.
again. Go.
I'm reading section 13.15.
Mhm.
So, for example, if there was a project approved before my time
Correct.
and they have not done anything,
Correct.
then, and if a previous commissioner rezoned it for, I'm not trying to say the project because I don't want them to actually do something. So if they rezone it to something that I believe the community does not agree with, can I take it back to the other rezoning that it was previously?
Correct.
I need my meeting tomorrow.
Correct.
Just like with the
It
data center.
refers back to either you have two options in that regard, because you can take it back to the original zoning, or if you're analyzing it from the perspective of the zoning side, you can, that may better interest, or the area may have changed over time,
Yeah,
could
call me
be
tomorrow.
strategically moved to that
Yeah.
particular zoning as well per the code.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. I like that.
Thank you. All right, is there any other questions?
Oh, yeah, I still have several more questions. So I wanted to know what the next steps were for the 22 that have not responded, and if you have a breakdown of which commission districts those are in.
Yes, so we have a spreadsheet. We actually tracking it on our system side of when they responded, who we have not heard from. We have made phone calls as well to those entities. So our next step is to talk to the district commissions in which those 22 cases fall under, and also the 13, because 13 did respond. Some have came from the board, some have reached out to our office particularly to resolve their matter. But those are the ones that we will bring to each individual district and talk to the commissioner about where they are and those entities that were involved in that process.
Okay. I'll leave those questions there. I really wanted, to thank you for this presentation. I really wanted to make sure that we're being transparent about businesses that have already decided to locate in Clayton County. I've seen, the signs that the economic development marketing materials that says Clayton County is open for business.
Yeah.
But if we are sending revocation notices to companies that have come through the zoning process, they've been to the ZAG meetings, they've been to the Board of Commissioners and had their projects approved, now we're sending them a letter. And so I had questions about how this process came about, what initiated it, and how do we end up in a space where the commissioners are hearing about this process after the letters had already been sent to the companies?
So the letters that were sent were courtesy letters. Those are not revocation notices, so I want to make that clarification, because the actual process to revocate or terminate will have to be a board decision in order to do it, and also has to go through the zoning process in order to accomplish it. So the courtesy letter really was meant to encourage or really kind of interject energy from the business side of it to get projects accomplished. Citizens oftentimes hear about projects but want to know, well, what is the progress of it? What is the status of it? So we wanted to be proactive in making sure that we are accomplishing that mission of getting them to go vertical. Now, sometimes you do have issues with your projects, maybe going to the state and have to get approvals prior to coming through our process. But those are the things that we're trying to get them to communicate. Because if they communicate with us, then we can actively work with them in order to get that project to the finish line. Our main goal is to get it to the finish line. And if not, then we have to look at it at a totality standpoint from the comprehensive plan that we just adopted, and looking at those properties to say, if we're sitting on these properties for however long it is, based off the code, is it time that we start to look at other opportunities to develop out that property in particular districts? So this was just a courtesy letter to get them to the table to have that conversation. Not so much to say, hey, we're gonna revocate or terminate, but to give you the option to say, hey, can we have that conversation so that we can get you to the finish line? And how it came about really is, we started from 2019. Those are the cases that we pulled. If you think back, we had the COVID time. You had building coming back online, building and construction coming back online. So you don't want to revocate during those times and periods. Then as you get to going into our comprehensive plan, we had the Moving Clayton Forward initiative that we want to focus on economic development and how to better prioritize and look at land use and zoning. Therefore, through that process, we heard from the community and the engagement side of it, of how we want to see and hear from the community of how do we get these projects to come to Clayton, but also build what they say they are building. So from that, and after we adopted the comprehensive plan, we started to move into the zoning rewrite and also start to look at how can we as a county be more proactive, or in a department be proactive to make sure these projects are meeting those goals. So that's where the initiative came from, and that's why the process has trickled into this upcoming year.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, thank you for that presentation. We truly appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, and also, Ms. Danielle, Tax Commissioner, can you come up for 1 minute about, was it SB 33?
Hello. Hey, how are you?
So the governor passed it yesterday.
Yes.
Or
So,
when was
board
it?
members, Madam Chair,
Okay.
I'm here because you called me here.
I sure did, so.
Yeah, so in short, SB 33 is HB 581 but forced, right? We had the option before to opt out, and now we don't. That's the skinny of it.
Okay.
We won't go into too much detail right this minute. In short, though, it's going to function like 581 as far as I understand. That's why me and Attorney Reed were back there talking back and forth, like making sure of some things, but I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. We will prepare like before, probably, if you all want to have your town halls. I think it's necessary to ensure that the public is well informed of all aspects of this particular bill, not just the exemption aspect, but the after effects thereof. I think the daunting task of our board is how to offset the exemption. And yeah, it's going to be working feverishly on you all's side to ensure that we can, because now there is no option, right?
What's the effective date?
So the effective date is January 1, 2027. Which means just like 581, your base year was the previous year. So 2026 will be the base year for all those properties now. And I know Attorney Reed sent us all an email earlier today. So what'll happen is it'll likely, I don't want to say for lack of better words, so I'm not going to say it, but it will, it'll supersede our local legislation. This legislation won't just be for those 4 categories of people that our local legislation intended. It'll be for all parties, which is, again, exemptions are great. Listen, I ain't just a tax commissioner, I'm a resident, so I get it. The flip side is we have to offset the exemption, or it's, yeah. So, and that's not to panic. It just means it's time to work.
It's time to work.
Get her done, right?
Yep.
And so that's what'll go into effect in January 1, 2027. So it's town hall time, though. The best way to get ahead of it is to educate people so they understand what's about to happen. We've got a lot of logistics on our side that we've got to navigate through before I want to go saying too much in terms of, is everybody grandfathered in? Is this something we're going to have to, I doubt folks will have to apply. It should just be that our systems are set where everyone who already has a homestead exemption should already be grandfathered in to the base year of 2026. And then new homesteaders have to apply anyway because they're applying for their first time homestead exemption.
So it sounds like we won't be able to keep those, what was it, 4 things that we had?
I mean, you'll keep them. So what happens basically is, it was going to happen anyway. Whatever exemption works in the favor of the resident is the exemption that will apply, right? So just like HB 870, our local legislation, our systems are set in such a way that, suppose it was a veteran, and veterans sometimes have a 0 bill, right? Then HB 870 is not beneficial per se because they already have a 0 bill, if that makes sense. So whatever exemption is going to work to the advantage of the resident is the exemption that will apply. SB 33 just won't be restricted to certain categories of people. It's for any homesteaded property, okay? So that's your basic homestead, senior exemption, veterans, that's everything. And whatever exemption works in the favor of the taxpayer is the exemption that will apply, okay?
All right. Thank you.
I have a,
Commissioner.
I have a town hall scheduled July 9th on SB 33, and our CFO will be speaking on the budget.
Okay.
If you want to,
Yeah,
I had
we're
our,
gonna be having lots of conversation.
financial advisor who agreed to come and speak on SB 33. But if you have time in your schedule, I would love for you to stop by. I'll just send you a follow-up email.
And even if it's not me, look, we got a team.
Yeah, so
Teamwork
I had
makes the dream.
kind
So
of
my
scheduled it
office will
today
be
earlier.
represented, even if it's not me
Okay,
personally.
yeah,
I don't
anyone,
know
that'd be
what
fine.
July, I have to.
Understand.
Yeah.
Understand.
But if I can be there, you know I will.
Understand, or your deputy,
Or
anyone. Just-
somebody will be there from
Okay.
our office. If any of you, if you got town halls, now's the time for us to start. And one other thing, if I may. So I know Mr. George probably sent information about, which one was that one, 544?
It's a lot of them.
One of them bills, HV.
Yes.
I think it's 566. That's
House
what it
bill,
is, I
correct.
think. Either way, that House bill passed. It's made adjustments to the assessment notices, which will pose a delay in assessment notices
Maybe I
going
add them
out,
to there, too. Yeah.
which then is a domino effect for your digest process, our digest submission process, and our bills.
As well as how you have to now recreate what we see as a homeowner.
Well, right. So that's on the vendor, right? Which they were kind of preparing that while we were waiting to see if the legislation would be signed. But now that it is, but there will be, just like last year, you remember bills went out later than normal. The same thing
So
will
it's
apply this year. We just don't know how late.
As we spoke yesterday, after the signing of that, I believe it's imperative that we all get together before we even get to the community to really understand what impact is going to be upon us. And if we need to get rid of something to put in this L host, which is supposed to offset, which I don't believe we're eligible for.
No.
Exactly. But the thing is to begin to really review a lot of this, to begin to understand the impact to us.
Well, and more than understand the impact, I'm very solutions oriented.
Well, that's why we have to
So,
understand that
yeah,
impact.
And that's why I
roundtable
brought you, that's why I
discussion
brought
to
you
say,
up today.
What we gonna do?
Madam Tax Commissioner, that's why I brought you up today, because we need to come with solutions. We talked about it yesterday, but I wanted the board to have the facts. And so that's why I brought you up today, so they could hear from you, and then we can talk about where we need to go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other questions at this time? All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're going to end this meeting at this time. At this time, we adjourn our work session. You all have a great night.